Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Today we'll talk about the bioavailability of micronutrients. In the last lecture, we discussed about various approaches used for biofortification. The first one that was the increase the phytoavailability of minerals. Then we discussed about the increased mineral uptake capacity of plants. And the third one was enhance mineral accumulation in edible parts. So today we are talking about the last approach, which is improved bioavailability of minerals for humans. So this is very important, the last one, and it is the least worked approach, although the people, they are working on that. But the consideration to this part is less as compared to the other parts. So although overall the biofortification is also not a very old subject, it's relatively newer, and in that this approach has not been well addressed up till now. But this is very important because we have to take the food into our digestive gut, and the minerals, if we have enhanced the minerals in the edible parts, and if they are not bioavailable and they are not in the form which can be absorbed by our digestive gut, so there is no use of that, and that will not be part of our nutrition. In this, we will discuss about nutrient bioavailability, that what actually it is, and then we will talk about 4 factors which can affect the bioavailability of nutrients in our body, and that will also give us some hint that where there are gaps to improve the bioavailability in the human gut. Nutrient bioavailability, sometimes we confuse it with the bioavailability to the plants or phytoavailability, which we already talked about during the acquisition stage and the uptake stage. So that is the availability of nutrient to the plant. So you can say the phytoavailability. But in biofortification term, when we say the bioavailability to humans, so this term is used, the bioavailability to humans. It means the total amount of micronutrient in a plant food does not represent the actual micronutrient content of the food that is utilizable by the consumer. As I discussed, that whatever in the food is, the total concentration doesn't determine the actual nutrition of that human. The bioavailability refers to the portion of an consumed nutrient that can be absorbed in human gut. Bioavailability refers to the portion of a consumed nutrient that can be absorbed in the human body. If you have taken 50 milligram of zinc and only 10 gram is absorbed by your gut, so it means the bioavailability is 10 milligram. It's not 40 or 50 milligram. So this is actual nutrient bioavailability. Bioavailability of nutrient, determining nutrient bioavailability is a complex issue. Of course, you have a lot of food item, whatever you are eating, it is mostly the complex food, and it's not very easy to determine the bioavailability of nutrients. Bioavailability of vitamin is generally higher, whereas that of mineral is less. So this is also a fact that the vitamins can easily be absorbed by the human gut as compared to minerals. So again, when we talk about mineral biofortification, so this is again a very important part of this approach. Then we have microminerals are in very low concentration in food and strong affinity with other components. So what is the actual reason for these minerals low availability is, So they are very low concentration, and they have strong affinity to other compounds, uh, such as the phytic acid are phytate for zinc and iron. Then bioavailability can be enhanced by understanding the factors affecting bioavailability. So there is nothing to worry. We can enhance the bioavailability of these minerals if we understand that what are the major reasons of this low bioavailability. So that we will cover in the factors affecting nutrient bioavailability. So there are four factors mainly which determine how much nutrients they are available to our body. The first thing, that concentration in the food, of course. The food which we are taking, there should be high concentration or sufficient concentration of these microminerals or vitamins in that food. So then we have meal components we will discuss in detail. Then we have processing and individual characteristics. We will discuss one by one. For concentration in food, we have already discussed production practices, crop rotation, and different strategies, intercropping. Then we have also talked about soil health and fertility, and then fertilizer amendments, kind of agronomic biofortification, and again then nutrient use efficiency of specific crop genotypes, uh, then variety of crops. So which variety we are using, so that also determine. And there are also some other interacting factors like environment and climate, which affect the availability uh, of nutrients from soil to plant, and of course in the concentration in the food. So I think we have already discussed these all in detail in the previous lectures. Uh, then we have a meal components. Whatever we are eating, so there are at least four things to be discussed here as a meal component. We are taking a lot of mixture of food, not only one thing we are eating. So there are some anti-nutrients in that. We will talk about that, what are these anti-nutrients. Then we have also some promoters, enhancers. And then we have also variable protein quality. Protein quality is also not consistent to each kind of food. Then we have also taken some supplements in our food, so which can also affect the availability. But here in this lecture, we will mainly talk about two aspects. One is anti-nutrients, and then the other one, that is promoters or nutrient promoters, or you can say the pro-nutrients or nutrient enhancer, you can say. Anti-nutrients, the food components which reduces the absorption of a nutrient in human. It means you have a high concentration of a certain mineral element in the food, but the presence of these kind of components will reduce the absorption of those elements. What are those anti-nutrients? Phytic acid. We know that the phytate, so they have strong affinity with zinc. They reduce the uptake of or the bioavailability of zinc and iron. Then we have also the fibers, cellulose, hemicellulose, lignin, cutin. They are also part of body, part of food. Then we have tannins. These are some kind of antioxidant, polyphenols, oxalic acid, lectins, toxic heavy metals, and goitrogen. So these all are nutrients which affect the availability of nutrients to our body. So the phytic acid, what does it do? It reduces the bioavailability of iron and zinc because it precipitated with the zinc and iron, and the bioavailability is decreased in our human gut. The second point that is important for this, that cereals are rich in phytic acid. So this is also the one of the reasons that the developing countries, so they have a staple cereal as staples, and which has a high concentration of phytic acid, and the zinc and the iron availability or bioavailability is less to humans. Then we have fibers. Fibers reduces the absorption of carbohydrates and other nutrients by reducing the transit time in intestine. You know that the fibers uh, uh, enhance the flow of our food which we have already taken in our digestive system in small intestine and then the large intestine. And if that time, the transit time which we have in our gut, if that is reduced, it means the nutrient uptake is also reduced. So they are not getting sufficient time for the nutrients to be taken up by the human gut. Peas, broccoli, beans, wheat, they are rich in fiber. And of course, it doesn't mean that we should not take fibers, but we should take care that the fibers, they enhance the flow of our food in our digestive system and reduce the transit time or reduce the time for the absorption of the nutrients from food into the human body. So it means there should be balance of fiber as well. So then we have a tannin. Tannin can reduce the iron absorption. These are also the polyphenols, and coffee, tea, legumes, they are rich in tannins. So that's why generally the iron are the people, some people are the nutritionists, they suggest that after food we should not take tea because they have tannins or the polyphenols which can reduce the absorption of iron. And especially when you are taking supplement, for example, the multi minerals you are taking. So if you are taking tea along with, so that will also reduce the iron absorption. Then we have also lectins, reduces absorption of calcium, iron, zinc, beans, soybeans, grain content, high content, and need to be cooked to reduce its content. So lectins जो है वो उनकी जो extent है that can be reduced if we cook. अगर जो cooked हैं उनमें lectins की जो ability है to reduce the absorption तो वो कम हो जाती है. Then we have oxalic acid. Oxalic acid decreases calcium absorption. So leafy vegetables, eggplants, wheat, grains, so they are rich in oxalic acid. So it means when we are taking these foods, so there are chances to reduce the calcium absorption by our body. Then we have a goitrogen. These are the components, food meal components, which reduces the iodine absorption. And cruciferous vegetables, cabbage, broccoli have high content of it, which reduces the iodine absorption. So I don't want to go in the whole chemistry that how these anti-nutrients they reduces, but at this stage we should know at least that which food element has which kind of anti-nutrients which can reduce the mineral absorption. So then we have the next meal component, that is promoters or the nutrient enhancers. So like anti-nutrient or unlike anti-nutrients, food components which enhances the absorption of a nutrient in human gut. So these are the components uh, which reduces the absorption of nutrient, sorry, which enhances the absorption of nutrient in the human gut, that is anti to our anti-nutrients. Because the anti-nutrients, they reduces, and the enhancer are promoters, so they enhances the absorption in our digestive gut. So there are some organic acids. We have also phytoferritin, inulin, riboflavin, vitamin D, provitamin A. We will talk about these. Ascorbic acid enhances zinc and iron bioavailability. Then we have phytoferritin, which enhances the iron bioavailability. Inulin promotes the calcium bioavailability in human gut. Vitamin D enhances the calcium bioavailability. So this is very hard issue nowadays, because most of our population that is deficient in vitamin D. So due to that, we have bone issues in especially in women, and even in children. We have also issue where there are vitamin D deficiency, because it reduces the calcium availability to our body. Then we have provitamin A, enhances the iron bioavailability. Although the provitamin A also is a precursor for vitamin A, which is also very important micronutrient for our human body, but it also enhances the iron availability to our body. Then we have riboflavin, promotes bioavailability of iron and zinc to human body. So we have covered the meal components, especially the anti-nutrients and the enhancer. Of course, we have also proteins. There are different protein qualities in different food items, so which determines its significance in our body, but we are not going toward that. We have only discussed anti-nutrients and nutrient enhancers. So the next, that is the processing. So you have food which is high concentration in microminerals, the micronutrients, and so there are also some nutrient enhancers in that. But the processing, we are not eating everything without any process. So we are, of course, we are eating some vegetables and fruits without any processing. But in most cases, worldwide, processing is done to eat or to prepare the food. So this is also very important, because we have heat processing. Mainly we cook the food. Then we have also sprouting and fermentation. So we have also here fermentation, and in different other countries. So there, that is also a huge part of their processing, food processing. And then we have also malting. All these processes can reduce or enhance the availability of nutrients. So here are a few examples here. So these are based on various studies. For example, pressure cooking. So that increases the iron bioavailability, and zinc bioavailability decreases when we cook the food in pressure cooker. Microwave, so that increases the iron bioavailability but reduces the zinc bioavailability. Then sprouting. Sprouting basically is you can say the germinated part. You have seed, you are eating seed or cereal, but you get it germinated and use it. So that is kind of food is being used in various parts. So that enhances the iron bioavailability, but again reduces the zinc bioavailability. But in some studies, in most of the studies, of course, that has been concluded that zinc bioavailability decreases, but there are studies as well which tells us that the zinc bioavailability also increases, because when the seeds they are sprouted, the phytate present in those seeds, so that is utilized for the development of that germination part or plumule. So when the phytate is less, then the zinc bioavailability is also increases. Then we have fermentation. Iron bioavailability increases and zinc bioavailability also increases. Fermentation, malting, iron bioavailability increases, zinc bioavailability also increases. Then we have a heating, boiling without oil. So iron bioavailability and zinc bioavailability increases in both cases. But when you cook it in the oil, then so there are opposite effect. The bioavailability of iron and zinc can be reduced. So here one point, the malting. So malting is basically is also a food processing. The seeds, they are germinated and then they are dried and used in different food items. For example, the malt is also, or malting is also the basic process or pre-processing for beer production or different other beverages. So this malting is done for that, but that is good in that case that it increases the bioavailability of iron and zinc. So then we have also the individual characteristics, so which affect the availability of nutrients in human gut, or the bioavailability of nutrients. Because if you have everything okay, concentration is fine, meal its components are fine, processing is good, then again individual characteristics. So they are also important. For example, age. The availability of some nutrients is better when the people they are young, and it's not good when they are old. So that is the reason that the old people, so they are generally advised to take some minerals, multivitamins. Then male, female, there are variations for nutrient absorption, physiological status, that what is the condition of the body, if it has some issues, diseases, so that can affect economic status. So that basically affect, it has also some stress factor as well, but it has also effect on how to take food. That will affect the processing, meal components, etc. Then we have also genetic propensity, the genetic tendency. Genetically, some people they can absorb very efficiently, and some may not. आपने वो सुना होगा, वो कुछ लोग कहते हैं जी वो मुझे तो खाना लगता ही नहीं. It means they are eating a lot, but they are not gaining weight. It means their genetic propensity to absorb the nutrients, that is lesser as compared to others. The some may have, वो कहते हैं जी हम तो सूखी रोटी खाते हैं तो फिर भी weight gain कर लें. So they have more propensity to absorb the nutrients. Then of course education and awareness, so that is also important. How to take the food and how what are the timing of food taking, and other activities which also of course involved in that, the exercise or walking or physical activities. So that these are also important for the bioavailability of nutrients. So to conclude, we have refined the definition of biofortification here. I think this is the good one. Biofortification has been defined as the process of increasing the bioavailable concentration of essential elements in edible portion of crop plants through agronomic intervention or genetic selection. So this is very comprehensive biofortification definition. I think we haven't discussed in last lectures. The purpose was that to understand all the possible biofortification approaches. So now at this stage, it is very easy to understand this definition. Biofortification has been defined as the process of increasing the bioavailable concentration of essential elements in edible portions of crop plant through agronomic or genetic interventions. So to conclude this lecture, it means we have to increase the mineral and vitamin content in the food items. We have to reduce the level of anti-nutrients, and we have to increase the level of nutrient enhancers. So all these three things, so they are very important when we talk about biofortification. So thank you very much.